All right, so we have narrowed everything down to the lymphatic system, the B cell memories, and immunity is about memory of the immune system to give you some kind of memory not to go into a reaction to all the different variants. However, with so many variants that are out there and so many different offshoots of the platform, the base platform, which is COVID, and then it's the novel COVID, and then you add all the different variants, and also people's immune systems are at the surface mixing so much of the memories together. This is why in about 5 months or less, what are we in, May? So May, June, July, August, September, 4 months, when people are out there milling around, taking in all the different B cell memories from different variants, and they might get light exposure, whatever, they're taking stuff on, but when they move indoors and things become aggressive as far as the mixing in of the viral entities, this is where people are going to be triggering what was incubating within them during the warm summer months. So it's not like people are not going to get some kind of affliction during the warm summer months, but it's incubating. Those with stronger immune systems will incubate what they've taken on during their vacations. They're hanging out with friends and family. You have people who don't know how much of a carrier they are, and so they'll be incubating. They'll be out there hanging around, and then come the change in season, and this is why fall is called autumn. It's called fall because that is the fall of that specific society. That there's a reason behind the names summer, winter, spring, fall. Spring is the rebirth. After the winter of death, the summer is like the life, and the fall is things start falling apart, because those are the people and the entities and the plant life that cannot survive the changes in season, can't survive the upset of homeostasis. And so immunity is memory. So that's why the immunizations are what they are, because they're supposed to give you some kind of false memory. Remember I told you about false memories? The medical system will give you false memories, but they don't last a long time, and you can't depend upon them. And that's why people are having issues, because the memories they keep taking on are getting antibiotic resistance from their body, because their body's like, well, dude, we already have these memories. We don't need any more, and we want to be able to, we are now figuring out how to block those excess memories that you're taking on that are synthetic. And so even though people are like, well, it's about natural immunity. Well, what is natural immunity? Everything is natural. It's about how your body's able to take on the memories and keep them without it working against you, but also they give you enough of the platform and the intelligence to work with. But when you have 7.9 billion people mutating so many different memories, you'll have to take on new memories and take on new memories, and you'll get an immunity, but then there's another variant out there, another one. But what happened before the COVID? Let me tell you, we had the flu memories, and everyone got sick during cold and flu season. It wasn't like super aggressive sickness, but we had the flu pandemic back in 1918, and that was introducing the population to a population that wasn't used to a flu until the 1918 flu pandemic, and it just wiped out a lot of people. And so we've been dealing with the flu, variations of the flu, since 1918. Yes, we had a comfortable rate of death and a rate of birth and a rate of disease, and people were okay with it for a few generations since 1918. But then you introduce something like the AIDS virus back in 1981. Then you have all the other variants, the different diseases that are out there that we've taken on, received different immunizations against, okay? But then COVID-19 is super, super aggressive. And then people are like, well, they put stuff in those things and whatever. Oh, honey, no. We've been exposed to so many different viruses, and they have been incubating. They've been dormant because it was never woken up by a really super aggressive. There wasn't that one ring, that one virus that ruled them all. The Lord of the Rings should give you some kind of idea about the one ring that ruled them all. The COVID, the crown, the corona, The coronavirus is that one crown, the king of all kings. And it woke up everything that was in people's immune systems. Hep A, AIDS, smallpox, monkeypox, whatever was ever in the population that was laying dormant, hidden behind the therapies, is now come to surface. It's been woken up. The beasts have been woken up, and they're circulating within the population. And so that's why they say, that every fall now, we're going to see a rise. There'll be a steady, influx. We had a major influx back in 2019 and 2020. 2022 kind of calmed down a little bit. We're in 2022 right now. It's kind of calmed down a little bit, but now it's rising up again. I've been feeling it. And then they're projecting in the fall, we're going to have a lot more cases, 100 million people afflicted. And how many of those 100 million people already immunocompromised, already fighting their cancer, disease, and chronic illness and autoimmune disorders, who are so underweight, whether it's a child, whether it's an adult, whether it's a teenager, whether it's an elderly person. How many people who think they're under some kind of protection are going to survive a major aggressive variant that will come around every single time we go into the future, because people keep mutating these things and it becomes stronger and stronger. So every year we'll have, we'll have a building of the pressure. The spring, the summer, and in the fall and the winter. So the fall and the winter is death. The fall is the fall, the decline. The winter is death. The spring is, rebirth. Okay, we can go out and hang out again. And it's going to be the same cycle until this COVID runs through. And it's going to be so many variations. Everything that you've ever been immunized against, everything you've been exposed since you've been traveling all over the world, because everyone's been all over the world. They've been to Africa, they've been to Asia, they've been to Peru, they've been to all the different places in the world, and they have things incubating, and it's going to be activated by an aggressive variant during the times that they are hanging out with their friends and family. Your lifestyle is going to work against you if you are used to being out there in the public. If you're strong, okay, fine, you're strong. If you know it and you've done the Jilly Juice meta mentality and you know that you're going to have to come home and deal with the mucus and deal with the pain and deal with all the things you have to deal with when you're exposed, and also preempting your own predispositions, okay, fine. At some point, you're not going to want to be out there, because it is exhausting having to go and blow your nose every freaking night. I mean, when I'm blowing my nose in the middle of the night and I'm like going like, geez, I have never had to do this every single freaking night for weeks and weeks on end. I feel fine during the day. Sometimes I get tired because of whatever variant's floating around, or I have a predisposition. And then, then things are okay for a couple of days when my husband's on the road and he hasn't brought anything to the house because he hasn't been here. But when he comes home and then he brings something home that I have to go and deal with, then it's the mucus in the middle of the night, the coughing, sometimes the sneezing. And now I'm trying to build my dog back up from her exposure. And so I took her down to her prototype. Not that I wanted to, but this damn virus did a number on her many times over, and her predispositions had to be dealt with. And so now I'm taking her, she's down like to a puppy where she's now relearning how to fucking walk up steps. She's relearning how to gain some endurance. So I'm walking her around my property, because I hate walking around my neighborhood because there's dogs behind the fence. There's dogs just everywhere. And I don't want a dog to get all sea and sugar and then want to jump the fence or bust through the fence, because who knows, it's like heat season. There's dogs are in heat, cats are in heat. We have tomcats all over the place. So I'm just walking her around my property. Thank God we were getting another property next door, and I can have a bigger property to rock her around and do some agility stuff. But now I know what I have to do with her as far as getting her endurance and her muscles built up, because she's had to really recover from these exposures. And so I understand the breeding of a certain prototype and a behavior in pit bulls and different animals. Some animals are high strung, so much energy, and then they have a lifespan, and when they start declining and that's the suffering of humanity, is watching their loved ones, their dogs and their animals and their people declining when they've been given a specific programming, and then that programming wears off, or it gets accelerated by a new virus in the environment, accelerating the lifespan. What would have been like 5 years for them before they get a predisposition, now it'll be 2 years or less than that before their predisposition gets realized. That's the world that you live in right now. because of how dynamic this environment is. And animals are not immune to this. Animals are also affected by it. The sepsis, the cancer, disease, and chronic illness. And so now you got to realize that immunity equals memories. Now you have to produce your own memories. You have to keep feeding those memories and releasing the excess old world memories. And then you realize, but this is what your world's been predicated upon, is a simulation / civilization / the memories. Old memories, new developing memories. And then people are living in the old memories. And that's why you see the decline in the population and why people are so resistant to new information, because they're declining. There's such a block. And so then I realized that, yeah, the RAM and the ROM, the RAM is random access memory. ROM is read-only memory, and that's the adaptive and the innate immune system. The innate immune system is like the read-only memory. The adaptive is the random access, the volatile information that you're bringing in that is very temporary, but there is a specific infrastructure that the read-only memory is what keeps the platform going. It keeps the infrastructure going, and then you keep adding and subtracting different components, applications, different memories, so you can adapt to different situations, different simulations. So you can adapt to your neighbor who took on a therapeutic or was around people who had different DNA that you were ever exposed to, and then you take that memory on. It might be a little jolting to deal with. You might have to blow a bunch of mucus out and rest and eat a bunch of food. You might have a drop in sugar relative to how aggressive their memories are that they're dropping onto you. And that's the world that we live in today. And so you have to see now all the words in the politics, religion, and science world. That's the context. That's the compartmentalization of an overarching main theme. Is programming memories, we're in a supercomputer that is backed up by image, which is electrical impulses, matter, acids, and gases, which is made up of biodiversity, of fatty acid, amino acid, prohormones, and minerals, that then are made up of viruses, parasites, protozoa, proteins, fungus, and bacteria. And they all have a specific job. They all work collectively together, and some try to take over, and some are more like submissive, and some are more, aggressive. And you just have to figure out that you have a specific genotype with specific phenotypical characteristics that can change based upon the predominant programming. So right now I'm in a world full of diverse people with different types of programming. I'm going to have to adapt to all the different types of programming. But let's say there is 99.9% of the community that's all red hair and white skin. Eventually I will adapt to that. And if I'm dark hair and yellowish skin or brownish skin, and everyone around me is red hair and white skin, I will eventually adapt to that if that was geographically appropriate. Because people who have really white skin with red hair probably do better like in the Nordic regions because there's not much sun, which gives them their pale color. But if you're more into an area like Ohio, where half the time it's really hot and the other time it's really cold, you'll be somewhere in the middle where you're able to transition very quickly when the seasons change. But that's the thing, we're in such a diverse world that you're going to be adapting to so many diverse phenotypes as well as genotypes, because you're going to have to deal with the animals, dogs and cats and new vegetation and new wild animals, and everyone's going to have to assimilate to each other. We're all made from the base prototype, from the base material, the base recipe of fatty acid, amino acid, prohormones, and minerals, and we're still run by viruses, parasites, protozoa, proteins, fungus, and bacteria that are also run by viruses. And then it's how you put it all together with a specific function of programming, and that's biotech. They already have every single gene mapped out with its function and its purpose relative to your wants and your needs. Like the potions, where you have like the reversing of the fat or adding on more fat. If you want to buy a pill that takes away fat, they have a pill for that. You want a pill that makes you gain fat, there's probably a pill for that, okay? You want something that will open up your heart or close your heart, there's a pill for that. If you want something to lower your sugar or up your sugar or whatever, there's something for that. There's a freaking pill, there's an app for everything, okay? That's the medical holistic system. And then there's those that want to be able to adapt to the environment, but they are around, again, 7.9 billion people who are so diverse, who are going to drop all their different, specific, unique, phenotypical characteristics. And it's going to be hell for those that are already at a deficit. Some of you don't even realize it because you're so under the influence, or you are disabling your indicators because you're either exercising your indicators away, or you're under the influence of drugs, alcohol, or vast amounts of sex, or you're playing with your hormones in different ways where you don't feel the indicators, and that's how you're able to self-medicate. And there is that. And so some people don't even realize how aggressive this environment is until their body starts falling apart, until they start walking and then they break an ankle because the T cells and the B cell memories have eaten away at their cartilage and their bones, and now they don't have enough support in the weight-bearing cavities of their body. That's when people start realizing the environment's working against them, and they've been hiding behind all of their drugs, alcohol, sex, exercise regimes, and their emotions, and all of their archetypes. And then they justify it. Oh, it's my time, it's my religion. God is trying to tell me I need to go to the other side. I mean, there are so many things in politics, religion, science to justify why it's okay to fall apart in a dynamic environment, and why they didn't tell you the other side of the story. But you can produce your own memories. You can release the old memories. You can strengthen everything about you in your body without going overboard. And you also must realize the things that you're exposed to on a daily basis could work against you, could work for you, but you won't know the difference because you don't know what kind of programming is out there. And when people are taking food as medicine or using heavy amounts of spices against their DNA, and that produces a protein that now is like weaponizing or thinking the food is a weapon against the body, you have no idea if you're taking that in and your body is developing a resistance against the food and the food supply, which means it'll negate your nutritional benefits. And so then you have to realize that everything that you're taking on, you have to deal with, and you have to release, you have to blow your nose, you have to keep feeding, because you're taking on good things for your body, the intelligence, and you're taking on the poisons, and you won't know the difference between the two. And so even though you think that mucus is great, it's great, but it's not great either. It's both. It's giving you an indicator, it's giving you intelligence, but it's also filtering out the antibiotics that are going to work against your lifestyle and your belief systems. And so you can't, again, differentiate between the two. So you got to deal with the symptoms. And you got to allow your body to rest. You got to stop working out so much, trying to look like an image, because you will destroy yourself in the process. Okay, I understand doing a little bit of weight bearing here to kind of strengthen. I walk around with my dog. I do a really fast walk. And I got to do it twice a day now because I got to get her up to a certain point. Okay? But some people overdo that stuff because they're self-medicating and they don't even realize it. Because something is running them. And they don't know what it is, but it's all the memories. It's all the trauma. It's everything that they have been resisting or been dealing with and haven't figured out how to separate themselves from the situations that cause their angst and their stuff. And so what do? They go and exercise. They go take their drugs or alcohol. They go to the bars. They go just obliterate themselves in distractions. And then people self-destruct. And so now I get I've been saying now I get it, but immunity equals memories. And you can take the synthetic memories from biotech, okay, but remember, they're only temporary. They're cures. Cures are temporary. Eventually, you're going to have to deal with the shit. But people do, but then they take all their antibiotics. They take all their spices. They take all their different painkillers. And that only just delays the inevitable. And then that turns into a monster later on. A huge monster that some people cannot come back from. So we're in May right now. What you do between May, June, July, and August is going to be a difference in how your body is going to respond to September, the fall. Are you going to contract something or lose so much weight or gain so much weight? Or are you going to start finding ways to figure out how you're going to navigate every single season from this point forward? Because you're seeing a pattern emerge. The fall, the death, the fall is autumn, Winter is death. Spring is rebirth. Summer is life. Don't let life work against you and then turn it into the fall, because that's what's going to happen for people. They're going to forget everything because it's so warm outside, and then bam, the rapture comes September 1st. Bye.